chatting to the man who has to make some very interesting calls throughout the whole day, and a legend in his spare time. Arnold Chats, the Grand Marshal here at the 9th edition of the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb. It's nice to be able to ask the man in charge, Ian Shrewsbury, to fill the hot seat with us. Ian, welcome. Nice to have you with us. And as we start off what is the elimination rounds for the finals, and as we take a look at car number 51 that leaves the line now, that's Headley Whitehead and that little Cooper S. Ian, all going to plan so far?
Yes, Arnold. The first day there are always the little glitches and that, especially when you have new systems in place. But we're very happy. Weather's played along this year, so not too much mud around, and everyone seems happy so far. So we're happy.
My first time here, and I must say, I think it's you don't quite get what you expect. It is so much bigger. It's an assault on all the senses, and that's really part of the deal, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, I say to so many people who haven't been to it, unless you experience it, you can't picture it. Photographs, television, it tells you some of the story, but it doesn't tell you the full story. So it is one of those events you need to experience it live.
Here's one of the beautiful innovations that we're very proud of on our live stream, and as we show you the split screen, that's Alexander Krah in his Austin Cooper. That's a 1.3 litre 4-cylinder Mini Cooper S dating back to 1977 in your top pictures. And then at the bottom here, a car that as a little boy I fell in love with. It was James Bond's car, the Jaguar E-Type. And that is about to leave the line as well. Ian, it's a remarkable lineup of cars. And here, this is the one, Patrick Gehring's Jaguar 5.3 12-cylinder E-Type. Just the most gorgeous looking vehicle. That's the beauty of it. You've done an immense job of getting the top 64 vehicles available in the class.
Absolutely, and I mean that's really part of our whole setup with this. You know, we try and get different cars each year. They're obviously crowd favorites and certain cars we want every year. But we're in the fortunate position where we have more applications for cars to enter than we do have positions, and we like to change the movie every year. You know, we don't want to bore our fans out there. So yeah, we're lucky we get great cars applying, and we can select and we can mix and match. We look at the classes, you know, how many cars are in a class. We also don't want one or two cars in a class if we can help it. So there's quite a process that goes into it. But we are fortunate. We've got great cars, and every year we get some nicer cars that want to join the party.
And then on top of it all, it's not just the classic cars that you roll out, but you've rolled out an absolute classic commentator in Roger McCleary, a legend in South African motorsport too. How nice to have him here too.
Absolutely. So Roger's been with us almost from day one, I think, or possibly the first year. And our own Murray Walker, you know, we have to have Roger. He's part of motorsport. And it's been great having him with us for all this time, and he's a great ambassador for our event too. He tells everybody that he loves it, so it's great from that point of view to have him with us.
This is number 61, and by the way, Roger will join us a little later here on our live stream. This is Craig Vessels in that Pontiac. This is a beaut to listen to as well. 6.5 litres and 8 cylinders cranking to get out of that massive machine. Listen to this as it leaves the line now. I'm convinced that if a really mean T-Rex had a decibel sound, it would sound something like that. That's one of the things. This massive assault on your senses includes the sound. It does something to your underwear, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You know, for me, motorsport without sound is just a no-no, and that's for me, electric racing doesn't quite do it. You know, motorsport compared to other sports, it appeals to all the senses, and that's what makes it so spectacular.
Dave Alexander here, and he lines up that Lotus of his. That's the Elan. Beautiful little car. Ran into a little bit of trouble with it earlier on. He had to park it on the grass verge in one of the earlier qualifying runs, but I think he's got everything going beautifully now. Look at that very tight line through the sweep there. And here's one of the things, and Euroman has thrown around a car on these curves before. It's not the easiest circuit in the whole world. I think you've got to pick your line so carefully.
Absolutely, Arnold. You know, when we first started this event, people looked at it on Google Maps and said, it's flat out, it's easy. But time has shown over the years, it is a challenging course. It's very fast, and the corners are negative camber. They tighten up on you. So definitely lots of challenge for the drivers.
And your braking has to be absolutely precise, because you can lose it in a second, can't you?
Very much so. And we've had a number of spills over the years. And if the guys just get it wrong, a little bit wrong, it's unforgiving. You know, there are no runoff areas, there's nothing like that. So when they do make a mistake, sometimes it's quite costly. But that's what leads to excitement. It's always a hill climb. People say to me, build curbs here, there. But it's not a racetrack. It's a hill climb track, and it has to have some of the ditches and things that we see on screen there. And that's what makes it so exciting and makes the guys have to give 110% concentration.
Ian, as you sit here now as a man who has to put this together, more than 600 people involved in the organizing and putting together of the whole lot. And of course it doesn't happen without all their input, marshals and everyone else. How do you put this whole thing together? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, it's it's built over time, and it is a big operation now. It's almost more than 12 years. We start planning almost 2 years ahead of things we want to do. And it's come together. We have a great team of people, from volunteers to our paid staff to people we pay, just for the weekend, consultants. And we've managed to put a super team of people together over the years. So a lot of them have grown with us as we've built it. So that makes it a bit easier. But as you say, doing all the detail, 600 people on site, all the infrastructure. It is a big operation now.
That's Peter Hollis, and he lines up in that MG of his. That's the midget, and first saw daylight in 1964. Also beautifully laid out, and you can see that he's decided to call it Piglet. I won't ask why, let's just leave it at that, and we won't even ask about Winnie or the rest of the lineup. Just to update you, Ron Hollis is the early leader, 3 seconds, 2.5 ticks under the 60-second barrier at this stage. Craig Vessels is second at the moment, and Dave Alexander in the third spot. So explain to us, you had your early runs, your practice runs, there were 3 of those, and then 3 qualifiers, and the 3 qualifiers brought it down to this.
Correct, yes. So after qualifying, we take the top 3 from each class, and then they do a class run. And so what happens is the guy can win his class, but may not necessarily win the Classic Conqueror. So we have the top 3 shootout for first, second, third, and then the top fastest cars from all of qualifying, the top 10 shootout for the Classic Conqueror. So we've had before where guys like Des Goodside the one year won his class, but then in the top 10 shootout lost. So it just builds excitement. We just try and build the anticipation excitement as the thing goes along. And we found that this format works the best for us for the event.
You've lined up behind a fair amount of your own race car steering wheels in your career. As we look at race number 37, Chris Champion, very aptly tamed. I don't think you could find a sport in which he wouldn't be one then in the end. MG Twin Cam, this is the 1.84 cylinder, and it's an absolute beauty as well. That's also lovely, turned out beautifully. When you've driven this course, what do you have to keep in mind more than anything? What are most of these guys thinking? Because you're fighting time in the end, isn't it?
Very much so. So key to a good lap is getting off the line cleanly and quickly. So I think a lot of guys put focus into that. And then, as I say, it's very fast, so they have to remain full of concentration the whole way up. You're speaking to all the guys, they say if you lose concentration for a second, you not only lose lap time, but you can end the wall. So it's a 30, 35, 37 second, 40 second, depending on the car, full on concentration. But the start is key.
Nick Sherwood here going away from the line very powerfully. That's a good start.
Very much so, yeah. I think he got the rev balance perfect there, not too much wheel spin. Seemed to get off the line very, very smoothly.
So I was listening to the trackside commentators a little earlier, and they remarked on the fact that as the day progresses, more and more rubber is left at the start line. And how do you approach that? Because the tarmac surface and its heat will affect how cars go away.
Very much so, yeah. So that's up to the drivers to try and anticipate.
Sorry to interrupt you, but this car just blows up my skirt. The one at the start line here now, that's Ian Schofield in that March, the 1.6 litre 4-cylinder 778. There she goes. That is an absolute rocket.
Also one of my favorite cars. When my interest in motorsport first started, these were the cars of the day. And I remember one of those in Golden Flow colours, Sportsman Lager colours,
Gunston.
Univinkles, Gunston. It was really a great era of motorsport, and these Formula Atlantics were just spectacular cars.
They still look absolutely gorgeous. I love that low seat, and honestly, there is very little. And talk about the old cars, here's the absolute dominant one at the moment.
Yeah, Franco and his Chevron, I mean, he's won the title a good few years now. Quite modified, a lot of electronics on this car, but she is beautiful and she is very quick.
Oh, I kept quiet deliberately because that's something you want to hear wherever you're watching that, because that is a thrill a minute if ever you've seen it. Beautiful, and the turnout of that car is just magnificent, and I also love how he throws it around, yet with inbounds.
Yes, I mean Franco's team is super professional. They present great cars. Franco's super competitive, so he pedals it hard, and yeah, very good driver. So you know he extracts the maximum out of it. He had a spill last year in the runs on King of the Hill. Nothing too serious, but yeah, super car, super competitive, and Franco does the business.
He set the early benchmark for the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb with that beautifully prepared 1970 Chevron B19 UVs, and they just keep rocketing off the line. Here's the interesting thing for me though, there are cars right throughout, and you're talking about cars that come from the late 40s right through to that beautiful car we just saw, this Alfa Sud, and they're all so competitive still. How do you manage to keep an engine like that in tip-top condition?
I think the guys, you know, put a lot of love and care and effort into it, and so you know, all race cars, it's all in the preparation in the day. I think Arnold Chats would have told you too. You know, if the guys prepare it properly, they run reliably and they run for a long time. It's when there's a bit of finger trouble that they break down and don't make the end of the race.
So you're watching the Alfa powering its way now to the line, and the man a little bit further back was Wayne Lotter in that Ford Escort. Also now lining up down at the bottom there. They let them go fast and furiously. Here's number 11. This is an absolute beautiful car as well. Alfa Romeo Giulia, and this is Trevor Tuck.
There's Arnold's name on the side of it.
Of course, well known as a man who did a fair amount of Alfa sales in his time, as he did Fiat in those days.
And I think he's still holds a record for the most consecutive wins in an Alfa, if I'm not mistaken. He won, I can't remember the number, but he won 30 or 40 consecutive races.
Well, number 11 now falls into second place, I believe, but it is Franco Scribanti who leads, and he leads with a time of 42.49 seconds. So fastest lap, not just of this particular heat, as we talk about the heats, making it sure that we get down to the top 10, but fastest of the day so far. So here is Peter Lindbergh, another legend of South African racing, and not just on the tar but also on the water.
Yeah, Peter's synonymous with motorsport as Roger McCleary is with commentating motorsport, I think. You know, long history, as you say, water, cars, a bit of everything. And yeah, great stalwart, great for the sport. Now whole family involved, his daughter's involved.
Also a beautiful sounding car. That is just the sound of it when you're on trackside, and even on whichever device you may be watching us on. Look at how wide he's taken that and sweeping it through to the right hand side there as tight as it can possibly go, and then back out again. Interesting that you got one or two little bobbles and hobbles there, and you've got to make sure that you hit it at the right place.
Very much so, yeah. So we taught some of those bumps out a couple of years ago, but they do develop, and it's a tricky place for the drivers, because just as they get on the brakes, especially for the faster cars, so they have to concentrate at that point as they're on the brakes. It's also the fastest point to the track from a top speed point of view.
What sort of speeds are we talking there?
Well,
depending on car.
Depending on the car.
Yeah,
Peter's probably doing about 180 k's an hour there. You know, the quick cars are doing up to 250 k's an hour up there.
Charles Arton is the man who was throwing that Datsun 240Z around. And here's one of my favorites, Graham Nathan. I don't know how many sets of tyres Graham's going to go through if he continues that, but off he goes as well. Another man who's a stalwart in South African saloon car racing in particular, and Nathan is up and away. I love how that BMW has turned out.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That car's owned by Peter Kaedi, who's also run teams in motorsport for many years. Always BMW, and presents a superb car. Always beautifully turned out.
Team Old Dog would say, and never a truer word spoken in jest, because Nathan is an old dog at this, isn't he?
He is. I remember when he was a youngster, but now he's been around so many years, he's become an old dog.
Which says something about your age.
Oh, it does. We won't go there.
So still, Scribanti then is still the man in the lead. Race car number 28 is off the line, second to last in this lineup. It's Mike Ward in his Lotus in the Ford engine, 1.7 litres, and this hails from 1999. So a fairly young car, actually, but a beautifully turned out car too. Peter Jenkins is in second spot with his time of 46.07 seconds, and then Ian Schofield, last car now, rolls up to the line, and this too brings back memories. Car number 24, Andre Besaidno, with that huge lineup of his cars, a man who's about to go, I beg your pardon, that's 22. So we were a little quicker on the trigger. They go as well. buzz its way up the hill too. And I love this split screen feature, so you know exactly how the cars are going to. Race number 35 is Josh Dovey, the Janetta Ford G4R from 1965 when this first saw daylight.
Janetta is a very strong racing brand in the UK. They do a lot of one-make series. It's a long, strong history in motorsport, specialist race cars, and lovely old cars, really are good. They still go today, and they've even gone into Le Mans prototypes, and they race at Le Mans now.
I must tell you, you look at that design, not much wrong with that design in today's times, is it?
Very much so. Classic design, really nice lines, beautiful.
He's fighting it a little. He gave it a little jerk there and tried to get it back in line. Almost let it get away from him there, but he's right on the edge here. He's giving it as much as he's got.
Yeah, doing brilliantly there. Bit of oversteer through all those corners, well handled.
So then the top 10 as I think it lines up, and we're still waiting for one or two of the times to come through, but it looks like it's at the top there, uncontested, 42.491 seconds. Franco Scribanti, Peter Jenkins, then Ian Schofield, Graham Nathan slots into 4th place, so that's one better than his earlier qualifying. Then Charles Otten, there we go, that's what it looks like. There are all the lap times for you of the top 5, and I must tell you what, not a lot to choose there in the different categories as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no surprise with Frank at the top, but beautiful car, as I said, very quick car, quick driver. Peter Jenkins, yeah, he's it's the time they pipped Ian Schofield in the March, but not too unexpected. Graham's done well there in Team Old Dog to get 4th quickest time.
And then Charles Otten, who is race car number 18, and you would have heard earlier if you weren't perhaps tuned in, that's the Datsun 240Z. And it's a 6-liter engine, a 6-cylinder engine. It's a beautiful car too. So that rounds out your top 5, and some wonderful racing. Ian, tomorrow, of course, another big day. But what I do love about today is I think you've got a combination of a whole lot of petrol heads and then people who absolutely love classic cars. And with great respect, they're two different sets of people, aren't they?
Very much so, you know. So there's a little bit of crossover, but they are two different groups of people. So when we started the event, we mixed the classics and the faster cars. And as the event grew and we got more demand for entries, you know, some of the classics with the older cars felt a bit intimidated by the quicker cars, let's say. And the time came when it made sense to spin out a separate classic day, and then we introduced Classic Car Friday. It's worked very well, and it's been building over the years. More and more people coming to watch, and as you say, some people just come for the classics and don't come for the rest. Some come for both. Some aren't interested in classics, come back later. So it's really, you know, it's worked well for us, and we're considering maybe running 2 days of classics just because the demand is so high. Obviously, there are issues getting marshals to take more leave and that type of thing. Volunteers, we use a lot of volunteers, and that's what makes it difficult to extend to another day. But it's something we are looking at because historic and classic racing all over the world is growing all the time. And the demand will get bigger, as we go along.
It's because retirement age is now not 65 anymore, it's 85 these days. And I say that half in jest, but some of it I think is true, that segment of the market doesn't dry up as much as what it did 20 years ago.
Very much so. And so, yeah, I mean, guys are keeping it going. They're keeping the cars going longer. Yeah. It's also interesting because, you know, the older cars, people can prepare them at home, whereas the new cars with computers, a lot of people can't do that. So the demand for classic cars is growing. And a lot of guys who buy the cars want to use them and do something different with them. So, it is a growing category.
So the top 10 shootout is what is next here on our live broadcast. Just to remind you, tomorrow it is the King of the Hill shootout, and there are 5 practice rounds actually, then qualifying round and qualifying round 2 with 84 cars in it. So our shootout will be in the next 10 minutes. So we suggest you don't go too far away, because we'd like your company as the 9th edition of the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb continues. I'm Arnold Getz, and together with me was organizer Ian Shrosby. Ian, thanks so much for your time. We'll chat to you later on in the weekend. It was an honor.
Thanks, Arnold. Great chatting to you, and we'll chat tomorrow.
Likewise, look forward to it. So keep wherever you are tuned in right there. We'll be back with more live commentary in about 10 minutes time from now.
the answers. Man, he lives it. And he raced. He used to have, He's been around. Yeah, I'm giving you this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.